Kamala Harris's policy was hogwash. It was never going to get passed. His housing affordability policy was creating an economy in which poor people could actively participate again by bringing manufacturing jobs back to America.
Like you said that we were better in the 70s. I just proved you wrong, and you just
That's
called it
objectively
blasphemy without
true,
even
though. Like
addressing my
the
points.
return to the 70s when you could buy a house off of a
Well,
handful
how are
of
you?
euros.
How? What? By what policy? What is he going to do?
So his policy's time travel.
Actually, you're completely wrong. We have higher levels of home ownership right now than in the 70s. What are you talking about?
That's a complete and blasphemous
I'm
lie.
not.
Anybody
I'm
who-
looking at. Wait, I'm actually at the. I'm at the St. Louis Federal Reserve right now, looking at the economic data from the Census Bureau.
So you're saying
Did
that
you
it's
just, did you
easier-
just call that blasphemy?
He literally said
Blasphemy.
blasphemy, bro.
No,
Blasphemy against the religion of my undeniable cult loving of Daddy Trump. It proved me wrong. It did disrespect
Democrats are
Daddy
actually
Trump.
insane because are you guys not the same people who say that baby boomers had it so easy you
Hey
could buy a
Chase,
house for
I'm
$10,000?
going to call you out on some bull. Remember earlier when you told me that the reason the Democrats lost the election is because they treat the right like a monolith? In
Yes.
response to me saying that you probably think that Sleepy Joe had dementia, and now you're saying that all Democrats are insane because all of us, you guys, were all saying something about like baby boomers or something in response to me making fun of you for being a cult member of Trump's.
Wait,
I'm
but I
saying
feel
that
like
most
his
of you-
measure was just wrong. Like you said that we were better in the 70s. I just proved you wrong, and you just
That's
called it
objectively
blasphemy without
true,
even
though, like-
addressing my points.
How is it
Look-
objectively true if it's factually wrong?
I just proved you wrong factually.
So no.
Based
I
on
want you to
census
say this
data
out loud.
info.
I want you to say this out loud and listen to yourself. I want you to say this statement. In today, 2025, it is easier to buy a home than it was in 1970. Please say that out loud, Parker. Please say it.
Wait, you were judging that based upon home ownership rates. That's how you judged social mobility. And I'm using the metric that you cited to show you that what you said was wrong.
Well, Parker, what he's technically saying is that the vibes were better in the 70s than they are right now.
Wait, so
That's what he meant.
Yeah, and,
Wait,
and
so
what
I
does that
wanna-
mean?
I want to clarify. So actually, he's telling us something different. He's saying that although the home ownership rates today are higher than they were in the 70s, it's not as easy to get a home today as it was in the 70s.
Yeah, but that's not the original
Yes,
standard
and-
that he's using.
Yeah, in other words, his new standard
He's moving the
is that
goalposts.
social mobility is not dictated off of home ownership rates. It's dictated off of how easy it is to own a home. So I have a question.
Who had policies for that?
Yeah, what policy would make it easier for people to buy homes? Kamala Harris or Donald Trump?
Kamala Harris's policy was hogwash. It was never going to get passed. Just like the same reason why it wasn't
That's
passed.
not what I asked you. Answer my question. Who is better?
No,
Who's going to make it easier to buy
her
homes?
proposed policy
Trump
was
or
better.
Harris?
Her proposed policy was better. Yes, I could agree that her down payment assistance proposed. That's the key word.
Did
though.
Donald Trump have any proposed
I was
policy for
just
housing
about to say that.
affordability?
What was Trump's proposal?
This
Did he
guy's
have
getting
anything?
dog
His
walked so
proposal was a
hard.
return to the 70s when you could buy a house off of a
Well,
handful
how
of
are you?
euros.
How? What? By what policy? What is he going to do?
So his policy's time travel. His policy is time travel.
You said he's going to bring back the DeLorean.
What are we talking
I'm
about?
gonna bring back the DeLorean. You're all gonna get in it.
Tariffs,
It's gonna be so easy.
You
It's
still
gonna
haven't
be-
proved me wrong.
Actually,
but how-
tariffs make new houses more expensive.
industrial power. I'm going to just say these terms.
So tariffs make new houses more expensive because the raw materials that we use to build new houses, a lot of it comes from other countries.
Regardless, I'm saying that. So what? Look.
No,
what
not
would
regardless. What was Donald Trump's housing affordability policy?
His housing affordability policy was creating an economy in which poor people could actively participate again by bringing manufacturing jobs back to America. Because in the 1970s,
So you're saying
saw
that so you're saying that Donald Trump's housing affordability policy was his tariffs, right?
yes,
But
thank you.
tariffs make houses more expensive.
You're speaking in the short term. I'm talking about long-term policy.
No, even in the long term.
That's like saying Kamala
Like,
Harris's housing.
you understand, like for
listen,
houses
listen.
specifically, like tariffs will only make them more expensive in the long term.
Listen,
because the
you're
fact of
making
the
a
matter
fallacious-
is
you're
that
making a
Canada
fallacious
has more
argument.
productive capacities and more natural resources to yield more lumber for lower prices.
So, like I was saying, you made a fallacious argument because by complaining about the prices of tariffs, that's like saying that Kamala Harris's housing policy is going to raise taxes because more people have to pay taxes to fund it. That's just a fallacious argument. So if you're going to make that argument about tariffs are going to make things higher, you're essentially diverting attention from the actual goal. Let's talk about the goal of the policy.
Wait, I just want to
goal-
clarify. You're calling that policy bad because it costs money?
Yeah, and you're saying tariffs are bad because it increases prices.
Wait. So, hey, I want to clarify this. So her economic policy was actually self-sustainable in the next 10 years, but Donald Trump's economic policy costs 4 times more.
Mhm.
So if the core issue that you had against Kamala Harris's economic policy was how much it costs, well,
You see how you're defining my point for me again?
his costs significantly more. No, you defined your own point when you said that the policy was bad because it cost $1.2
I
trillion.
didn't. I never said that though. I never said that.
Yes, you did. Stop it. You told us
I
that it was
just
a bad
said, look,
policy
I
because
said
it
you're
costs
making a
money.
fallacious
No,
argument.
I'm not. No, you told me that it was bad because
You-
it cost money, and then I even clarified and I
No,
asked you. So you're
you-
essentially saying that it's
I
bad
s-
because you cost money, and you said yes.
I swear he doesn't hear himself talking, Dean. This is
Yo,
the
are you
only
guys
thing-
confused?
this is the
I just
only
He
said-
thing-
doesn't. He doesn't
this is
hear
the
himself
only
talking.
This is the
He
only thing
doesn't.
that makes sense now. There's no way he can hear himself talking. It's the only thing that makes sense. Because there's no way that you can say one thing and then 5 seconds later say the opposite. That's insane.
Listen, maybe I need to be more clear. Let me speak very clearly. The point I was making is that for you, Dean, to complain about the price of goods with tariffs is like, I'm doing a comparison, is like me complaining about Kamala's tax policy. Oh, wait, I'm sorry. Kamala's policy on housing increasing taxes. You comparing the two costs
Wait,
Why is that?
Wait, what?
because it diverts attention away from the actual goal. Kamala's goal is to build housing, so I'm going to ignore the fact that it raises taxes.
Wait,
Trump's goal
wait, what are you
is to
talking
build
about?
jobs, which is why I'm going to ignore
Wait.
the fact
How
that
is
it
he saying
raises
it
prices.
raises taxes? What?
Who's going to pay for the housing bill? What are you talking about?
Yeah.
You-
So
you
if you're curious, so her all of her economic policy was supported via a 7% increase in the corporate tax rate, while granting Medicare a greater renegotiated ability with private pharmaceutical companies to save our government more money, and that essentially like covers all of the expenditure for the cuts, making it self-sustainable. But like, I think that's a good thing to do, right? But like, obviously, American consumers paying more because of tariffs is like a bad thing to do.
It's
Can I also
short-term.
clarify to him? Like, again, Donald Trump signs off on more debt-related spending. Who's not getting the revenue in order to be able to take into account how much they're spending? That's obviously Donald Trump, then, right?
So I'm not trying to go into a whole side conversation about Kamala's tax policy and how it's going to tax corporations. That's not my point. I'm saying that for you to complain
But
about
can
goods-
you admit that her plan is not actually going to increase taxes? Like, I mean,
Dean
Logan,
literally
you can-
just said it's a 7% corporate tax, so it would.
yeah, overall, but it's self-sustaining. They've covered this like multiple times.
Wait, were you the one that would? Wait, now you're complaining about increasing the corporate tax rate by 7%, right?
No, I'm not complaining about that.
Yeah, that's right. You better not be complaining because for this whole conversation, you've been using the 1970s as your gold standard of when America was prospering the most, when the corporate tax rate in the 70s was 35 to 45%.
You know what, Dean? When he's talking about the 70s, he wants to bring back stagflation. That's what he's talking about.